Bill!
Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go. It's random Chet time. And you know what, Chet? I have finally gotten over what happened 2 weeks ago since you soft touched it last week. So what do you have for us this week?
Well, let me see if I can find my background information here, Bill. Got to get all set up to go. There we go. All right. Yeah, I need a break from the serious sports talk, so that's why we throw in the random Chet segment right now. So when we had Mike Sealski on with us last week, it was right after he had proclaimed on Facebook during the day that the theme song to The Jeffersons was the greatest ever TV sitcom, and there was no doubt about it. Well, it got me thinking, what are my all-time favorites? That one, All in the Family, The Beverly Hillbillies. How about Friends? Friends, a great show with a nice, catchy opening theme. Well, all in all, Bill, I considered about 50 of them. And the Brady Bunch and the Cheers opening theme, you know, everybody knows your name. They just missed the cut. But you're probably wondering, what are my top 10? Well, Bill, I'm glad you asked. All right, my top 10 TV sitcom theme songs, and of course we'll go in reverse order. Number 10 on the list, well, that would be the one that our pal Mike Sealski claims is the indisputable very best TV sitcom theme. Well, I'm disputing it, Mike. The Jeffersons, Moving On Up. Good song, but number 10, that's all. Number 9 is the theme to a current animated classic, Family Guy, a funny as hell show with a great theme song to boot. Seth MacFarlane is a genius. Number 8 on the list, the theme to a show we all, well, most of us from a certain age group anyway, watched back in the late 1970s. The show with Vinnie Barbarino and Horshack and the other Sweat Hogs. The very funny Welcome Back Kotter with a super theme song sung by John Sebastian. 7th on the list, the opening theme to that mysterious and spooky, altogether ooky gang, the Addams Family. Number 6, one I mentioned earlier, Friends. Yeah, they were always there for us, well, for 10 years anyway. And the song by the Rembrandts became one of 1995's best-selling singles. All right, my top 5. Hey, hey, we're the Monkees. Yep, that silly little TV show, believe it or not, lasted just 2 seasons on NBC, but it had an incredibly catchy theme song and made big stars out of that thrown together for television quartet. Number 4, the song about a 3-hour tour that opened Gilligan's Island every week. Although in season 1, the song didn't actually mention the professor or Marianne by name, trust me. 3rd on my list, The Ballad of Jed Clampett, the memorable song that was the opening theme to the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah, he was shooting at some food, and up from the ground came a bubbling crude. Number 2, the theme to the show that debuted 50 years ago last month, All in the Family, sung by stars Carol O'Connor and Gene Stapleton. Of course, the song being Those Were the Days. Loved it. And number 1, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. This might not be yours, but hey, I still, to this day, sing this one frequently.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me.
Thanks for taking this trip down TV sitcom memory lane. Whether you agree with all of my choices, hope you enjoyed it anyway.
Ring the bell.
I'm just ringing it once because, you know, I made my wife watch some of our compilation of the random Chets. She said, stop with the bell. It's annoying. So maybe she's right.
Well, let's do it. It's random Chet time. You could have more. You could have another ring. Ring it again.
There you go.
What do you have for us this week?
Hopefully everybody's aware that this Sunday brings Valentine's Day, and it got me thinking about another list. Last week, it was great TV sitcom themes. This week, with Valentine's Day fast approaching, it is favorite romantic comedies, movie rom-coms. So since Valentine's Day is the 14th, I decided on 14 of my very favorite rom-coms in no particular order. The oldest on my list is, well, it's the highest grossing movie released in 1967, The Graduate, starring a young Dustin Hoffman, plus the lovely Catherine Ross and Anne Bancroft. Loved it. I chose one from the following decade. Also, I know it may not be particularly correct or politically correct to choose a film by Woody Allen these days, but 1977's Annie Hall remains one of my all-time favorites. The late 1980s then brought us 3 great ones: the classic Moonstruck, starring Cher, plus the great Say Anything, starring John Cusack, and then Rob Reiner's very funny When Harry Met Sally. The 1990s gave us a slew of terrific rom-coms like 1990's Pretty Woman and 1999's Notting Hill with Julia Roberts starring in both of those. In between, though, we got the underrated film The American President, plus the wonderful Four Weddings and a Funeral, and a movie that Glenn Macnow says is the best ever rom-com, Groundhog Day. John Cusack has a second great one on my list, 2000's High Fidelity, which also included an awesome soundtrack, by the way. And then three others from the early 2000s, the hilarious My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and a movie that I mentioned previously as being one of my favorite Christmas films, Love Actually. Plus a very funny movie starring Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, whose character has a strange case of amnesia, 50 First Dates. So there you go, 14 great romantic comedies. Your assignment, Bill, go watch all of them before this weekend.
I was going to say I've probably seen 2 of those, maybe.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. Who watches that stuff? There you go. What do you got?
Well, Bill, I hate to make you and me feel old, but you know what the heck? I'm going to do it anyway. Boy, can I find this thing? Yeah, I found it. Okay.
I don't want to feel old.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was 1971, Bill, 50 years ago, that all of these terrific albums were released. Can you see them all? Look at this. It was 1971. We got memorable LPs by artists including Elton John, Led Zeppelin, Carole King, The Who, David Bowie, yes, Alice Cooper, Jethro Tull, and so many more. And, you know, in most of those cases, it wasn't even their very first albums. We've discussed before, Bill, that I was a big fan of a lot of these guys, and you know that I'm a big music in the 1970s were just so big for me as far as getting into the music scene. I still own about 15 albums on that list, and just to prove it, I bought a bunch of them in with me. We got David Bowie's Hunky Dory, which included the song Changes that I loved. How about this one? Alice Cooper, Killer. Alice still going strong today, 50 years later. He's got a new album coming out next month called Detroit Stories. How about this one? The Who. Who's Next? I love this one. The best album, absolutely, by The Who. One great song after another on this one. In fact, I wore this thing out. This is a new one that I never even opened because the first one I wore out. The Yes album. As I mentioned, another classic featuring all good people. I've seen all good people. My original copy of Led Zeppelin's 4th album called Zoso also got worn out, so I had to buy a replacement for that a few years later. In fact, I bought it for $2.95 at one of my favorite used record stores out in State College, Arboria. Our buddy PJ is well aware of that place because he was out there visiting many times. And Bill, this one by the Stones came out 50 years ago this year. Sticky Fingers, which not only had great songs on it like Brown Sugar and Wild Horses, but it also came with a working zipper on the front of the album. So that was kind of a little novelty back in 1971. So yeah, 1971, Bill, it was the year that I started to spend a lot of my money on LPs, and I still have a working turntable connected, although I rarely use it. But I got to tell you, I miss the days of albums for the artwork and the thrill of putting the needle on the record for the first time, Bill. Here's to all of us, Bill, and all of these great albums, which are turning 50 years old here in 2021. We will drink to that.
There you go. Hey, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck drink while they're working, for God's sake. We might as well, too. How about that? All right, let's ring that bell, brother. It's random Chet time. I knew we had to get this in. Jump on it.
All right, Bill. Yeah, random Chet time. People just love this thing. I don't know if they do. I'm just saying that. For better or worse, Bill, a lot of people complain about TV sportscasters. You know, Joe Buck is so biased against Philadelphia. Chris Collinsworth was clearly rooting against the Eagles. Reggie Miller was a great player, but he sucks as a broadcaster. Well, Bill, I got to tell you, there's even a lot of criticism about some of our Philly announcers. Whatever. Well, ahead of Sunday's not-so-great Flyers-Bruins game out in Lake Tahoe, NBC aired a special on the recently retired hockey announcer Doc Emrick. And it made me think about the fact that you almost never heard anybody criticize Doc Emrick as a broadcaster. And how could you? He was terrific. And so was the hour-long special that aired on Sunday. And this is my favorite part of it right here.
Doc captures the essence of our game like nobody else. The mastery of language that he uses cuts across every situation, every game.
All of the animosity now blends into the handshakes of great sportsmanship at the conclusion of another run to the Stanley Cup.
I'm serious, good job.
He just had the perfect description of something, never overdid it either. And once in a while, he'd come up with something you'd never heard before that matched the moment perfectly.
You look at a disc going up the flat side of a stick blade when it's quacking like that.
His power of descriptions was it's second to none. Nobody can do what Doc Emrick can do.
Lobbed ahead now, and Taves spears it behind. Lobbed on out to center. Saw that one swirl around.
Instead of he stick-handled around, he danced through the defenders, he sashayed. Right? Sashayed.
Sashays his way to the circle.
Even if you don't know the word he uses, you somehow figure out what it means because you're watching what's happening on the ice.
Won by Rick Nash, who spirited it back down.
For me, one of my favorite is ladled.
Ladled back in.
Paddles it, ricochets it.
He shillelaghs that puck into the zone.
Chipped onto Taves' stick, knifed away from him by Parise, and ricocheted off the linesman, and it's whipped on back.
First time I heard pitchfork.
Pitchforks went ahead.
I said, that is exactly what that is.
Trickles, shuffleboarded, waffleboarded, skittered.
Button hooks and looks.
He was the first one to use a shovel shot, which, a high backhand, or what, like somebody shoveling snow. Why wouldn't you call it that, right? But nobody had before then.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
what do you think, Bill?
It was a great show. Two other points. One, that I was a little disappointed. They only showed a very quick picture of him and Gene Hart.
Yeah.
And never really even mentioned Gene. And I maybe there's a reason, I don't know, but Doc started with the Flyers.
Yep.
And the other thing that Al Michaels made a comment in there about doing I believe it was Olympic hockey or world hockey or whatever. The network wanted Al Michaels to do it. Al Michaels said, "No, I can't do hockey like Mike Emrick can do it. He needs to do it because I want to listen to him." It was great.
Awesome. And for anybody who wants to see it and hasn't seen it, the whole thing is available on YouTube. So check it out. It's called Doc Emrick, the voice of hockey. And boy, was he.
Great hour. Great hour. Very entertaining and well done. Absolutely.